Hello everybody, do you see this? This is my latest project. It is essentially a 157 by 12 mm hub converted to 142 by 12 mini cassette hub for 7-speed cassette with a 12-speed spacing. As you can see, it's bloody awesome, and unfortunately today's video is not going to be about it, because today's video is shot under the auspices of clickbait. Because in this yellow package is supposed to be Prowheel MPX11 GXP crankset, which I bought to replace the Fovno Phantom, which you saw me repair ever so time ago. So, if what I think is inside, we should make a review of it, because that's the clickbait part. Because from what I saw, these keys are going to be annoying. From what I saw, the videos with unboxing and quick, first impressions of the things are the most popular. Who would have thought? So, let us see what's inside. Inside we have slow death of our planet because of plastic, accessories for the crankset. So I think this is a preload bolt, the preload K, 3 bolts for the GXP, and that's it. And from this we can gather that I've actually received what I ordered. Imagine my shock. Anyway, let's get rid of this plastic. And what do we have here? In fact, this is a Prowheel MPX11 crankset. And unfortunately, there isn't much to say about this, because this essentially is... No. I'm not going to continue showing you the previous video, which you saw a glimpse of just a few moments ago, because in all honesty, such a massive disrespect to my audience is something that even I can't tolerate, and I have literally no standards for anything. So we're going to do it, or at least I'm going to do it once again, properly, with a good trim, like a sir. Ladies and gentlemen, although mostly gentlemen, let's be honest with ourselves. This is Prowheel MPX11 crankset, which I have purchased on AliExpress for an exorbitant sum of $40 American, shipping included, 40 with change. Anyway, it has arrived in 2 weeks, and it's going to be replacing the Fovno Phantom crankset, which I am utterly and completely not using at this very moment. In the package I have received left arm with 2 bolts inside, obviously. The right arm with a spindle stuck inside, also obviously. The bearing preload adjustment bolt. The bearing preload adjustment tool, which fits neatly into the bolt with this weird swastika shape, which has only one arrangement, which fits perfectly. Pretty neat, but also pretty annoying. And in the package, the last thing, were 3 chainring mounting bolts. These bolts are Torx T25, I think, and they are superior in this particular usage because this is obviously a GXP crank. So if you want to mount something really securely, this is a T25 Torx. This is superior to Allen because this is not going to round itself with usage, especially if you were to replace your chainrings pretty commonly, often, whatever. The chainring obviously I had prior to making this video, or even getting the crank, because you have seen me using it in this very channel like 2, 3, 5 months ago. The crank arms are made of aluminum, obviously, they are cast and forged. I at least suppose so. That's the markings on the inside, which are going to tell you that. The spindle here is made of steel, and the diameter of the spindle is, I hope you're going to see it, because I'm trying to use a fixed focus. So if it's not visible, I'm sorry. This is 24 mm, so this is a standard Shimano bottom bracket for these, not GXP or something like that, which is kind of odd because this is obviously a GXP chainring mount crank because it replaces my Fovno, which is also GXP. The Q factor is approximately 175 millimeters, which is kind of wide, or at least on the wide side. Some people are really sensitive to this parameter. For me, it's not really an issue. Construction wise, I'm going to trust Prowheel that this is a forging because everything about this crank tells me that it is. I might be wrong, but I don't think I am, because making this out of a casting would probably make it break almost instantly. You need to forge these things, and this looks like a forging, so I'm going to presuppose that it is. Anyway, as you can see, this is a C-beam, so nothing empty on the inside, only the visible emptiness you can see here. There's a ribbing inside which makes up, at least to some degree, for the material lost in this pocket. If you recall the Prowheel claw, and if I recall correctly, obviously, the Prowheel claw didn't have this feature, and it was really stiff, but obviously quite a bit heavier. If we're on the topic of weight, the arms alone are weighing 677 grams. If we add a preload bolt and the chainring mounting bolts, we arrive at approximately a touch below 700 grams. If we add the chainring, well, 760 grams. Not lightweight by any means. The interface is the superior Shimano style interface. Essentially, this is the drive side. There's a long spindle sticking out. Most of the movement on the spindle, which is going to be happening as you pedal, is going to be happening on the non-drive side. So this is going to be wobbling just a little bit as you pedal, and because there's a spindle over here, this minimizes the wobbling of the chainring, which would invariably happen if the spline was on the other side. This was the problem with the Fovno, and for example, this was a problem with the early race face cranksets. One of the reasons why this crank is a bit hefty is the fact that the interface here is using M18 bolts, so if you're looking for something aftermarket, this is what to look for. And it also means that the spindle is actually pretty thick. It's about twice the thickness of a spindle on a Shimano crank. So, while this is heavier, this is also going to feel much more immediate because the entire design is going to be much stiffer. It's a really minor point, but the pedal threads have been machined after the crank has been anodized, because you can see there is no anodizing on the inside. I don't think it means anything, it just is there. And lastly, quality-wise, I have nothing bad to say about this. The anodizing is uniform, the markings are sharp. In comparison to, for example, the IXF crankset, I think it was, what was its name? Never mind, Jankun, IXF, whatever. The quality of this thing is much above that. It's simply another class of product. There are no burrs, there are no sharp edges, the anodizing is really uniform. Everything is really nice and speaks of a high quality product. And this is really all I have to say about this crankset. At this very moment I have pretty much nothing negative to say about this. My experience with the previous Prowheel crank, the claw, was very positive. So I have no doubt this is going to be performing really well. My plans for this are, apart from being a replacement for a crank that broke, which I'm not obviously using, is to use this on a special project which I'm going to be making a video on in the future. And I'm not going to be spoiling the surprise because it's going to be horrible. Anyway, I hope you've been entertained, or at least made aware of something, and I'm not going to be babbling anymore, so see you in the next video.